Electric charge, its quantization and conservation. All right. In this lesson, we'll try to understand what is electric charge, what is charge quantization, and what is charge conservation. You can see something on the right hand side, the standard model. The standard model is a model in physics which explains all the three forces together: electromagnetic force, strong force, and weak force. Strong force and weak force are found within the nucleus, and electromagnetic forces are all over. Our daily life is completely influenced by the electromagnetic forces. A general name we are giving: electromagnetic force. We already talked. Electromagnetic force, the source is charge, and a stationary charge produces electric field, a moving charge produces magnetic field, all that we talked. Here, we'll try to understand what is this charge business. Anshuman, and you should be on time because once the lesson started, I cannot go back. Devarchit. Children, you have to be on time. Sai Bharat. Sai Bharat. Bachu Devarchit Praharsha.
Good morning, sir. Sorry, good evening, sir.
Good evening, Sai Bharat. Sushma. You be on time, children.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening, good evening. You have to be on time. Look, what is electric charge? If you asked me, somebody else come once again. Okay. Children, matter, the whole the known universe now has two forms. It exists in two forms for us. One is matter, the other is the radiation energy. Or to put it in a more direct way, photons. Matter, has a property called inertia. Yes?
May I know the topic name today, means like subheading?
You can, but the thing is, you are coming late. This is electrostatics 3, and we learn electric charge, its quantization and conservation. A small topic, but very important. If you can finish it, we can as well start the Coulomb's law as well. Devarchit Praharsha. Try to be on time, children.
Sir, actually, at one time, but setting is somewhat network issue was there.
Okay. And one thing with the online teaching is the time management. Kartikeya. People are still joining. Kartikeya, did you register already, child? Are you coming for the previous classes? We'll see. Srihit. People are going on joining. Let me see. Anyway. Yes, this is a lesson, children. Electrostatics 3, electric charge, quantization, and conservation. Okay. Now, yes. If you just sit by the side of your window and look into the outside, the known universe I'm saying, because people talk of dark matter, dark energy, which we don't know it. What we see outside ultimately is, of course, we don't know too much about life, but ultimately, if you look at the inanimate nature, It's either in the form of matter or in the form of light, let me say, to make it even more simple. And whole physics is interaction between matter and light. That's one way of looking at physics. Of course, interaction between matter and matter, interaction between matter and light. So the most differentiating factor, distinguishing factor between matter and radiation is that matter particles, however small, if you keep accelerating them, or if you keep giving energy to them, their mass increases, their inertia increases basically. Because say if you apply a force like this, if you go on accelerating, finally the speed should go to the speed of light, right? If you go on increasing somewhere, it will reach the speed of light, but it will never happen. That c is a limit, that is 3 into 10 to the power 8 meters per second is a limit the nature put on anything in its lap. Nobody can just go to this speed, only light can go to that speed. I'm not saying the light speed, actually I'm saying there is one speed limit where only photons can go to that speed limit, and not this matter particles which are lazy actually. How do things get mass and all, that is actually discussed in that picture I told, the standard model. Now, what I was trying to tell you was this matter has two important properties, what we call as mass, which characterize the inertia, and then we have what we call as charge. Mass is there because I would like to explain its inertia and as well gravitational field. Of course, there are two kinds of masses, people say, inertial mass and gravitational, but I just put it in the general form. Here in this case, because we're talking about fields, I'll talk about mass is the source of gravitational force, but in this case, I should call it gravitational mass. And charge is the source of electric field. Not electric, electromagnetic field. We can use a general word now. Charge is the source of electromagnetic field. These two are introduced to explain our common sense viewpoint of force. This field idea is there because I would like to explain why electromagnetic forces exist and why gravitational force exists. To explain these forces, people introduce the idea of gravitational field, electromagnetic field, and the sources are mass and charge. So if I ask you what is charge, I'll say this. Charge is one which causes electric and magnetic fields, and charge is one which experiences electric and magnetic forces. This is my simple way of telling you what is charge, because we know forces are there. Forces are there is our even common sense observation. Try to understand, because a body which was at rest will start moving. A body which is already in motion will change its motion when what you call as force acts. So when people were trying to understand why these forces develop, the field idea came in. And there are two completely distinguishing and differentiating forces. One is gravitational force, the other is electromagnetic force. So they said gravitational force comes because of a property called gravitational mass, and electromagnetic forces come because of a property called electric charge. So once that is done, then in other words, let me tell you, matter has two things. One is its mass, and the other is charge. Together they will exist. You cannot have a charge without mass. You cannot have a mass with some charge in it. Of course, net charge may be not there, but charges will be there existing inside the matter, right? For that to become clear, I just go back to show you the picture I have here. Look at this. This is atom we have shown. Inside we have shown the nucleus. First, being in second year, this is very, very important for you people. Chemistry also will be becoming meaningful if you know the proper structure of matter. This is zoomed here. Look. Huh? This is protons and neutrons. It's a very tiny one, highly dense one. The density of this will be 10 to the power 17 kilograms per meter cube, children. That is, matter is tightly packed. These protons and neutrons will be packed in such a way to give almost a spherical shape for most of the nuclei. Around it will be electrons. The space between the electron and the nucleus is very wide, very, very wide. If you think a big building is atom, a tiny, the head of a pin is the nucleus. That much scaling will happen when you compare the size of the nucleus to size of the atom. That means that there's a lot of empty space between the nucleus and the electrons, right? And this electron is the fundamental particle. It is not known to be yet further divided electron, okay? And but people later found that even the neutrons and protons are divisible, okay? Here we showed one proton, which is made up of quarks, up quark, down quark. Quarks are even elementary particles, even fundamental particles, which actually make up one. Here, in this case, we showed a proton. Even neutron will have two down quarks, one up quark. So the indivisible particles, if you want to say, are electrons and quarks. Is it all right, children, for you? Sai Bharat, tell me. Huh?
Sir?
Are you listening to me?
Yes, sir, I'm listening.
Yeah. Like this phone, for example, I have. Let me break it into pieces. I'll get to molecular level first. If I break the molecule, I'll get into atoms, atomic level. If I break an atom, I'll get electrons and nucleus. If I break the nucleus, I'll get into protons and neutrons. If I break the proton and neutron, I'll get into quarks. This is the understanding now about the structure of matter. Okay. Now, as far as chemical reactions are concerned, we are interested in electrons, that to outermost electrons. All right. So all that our daily life is, wherever some chemical reaction is happening, we'll be dealing with the interaction between atoms and molecules because of their electrons in the outermost orbits. Okay. Now, where does charge come in? I'll show you now. This electron's charge is the fundamental charge. This electron has mass and as well charge. As we know, the charge on the electron is the basic unit of charge. Basic unit of charge. As far as the world outside the nucleus is concerned, basic unit of charge as far as the world outside the nucleus is considered. Okay. Its charge value, you know, electron charge is how much? Minus 1.6 into 10 to the power minus 19 coulombs. Its mass is what? 9.1 into 10 to the power minus 31 kilograms. Charge on any body is going to be the integral multiples of electron charge. This is what you mean by quantization of charge. You know why I mentioned that? As far as the world outside the nucleus is considered, remember, inside the nucleus when you go, we said there are quarks. Quarks have got fractional charges, which I'll just mention it later. Huh? So electron's charge is the fundamental charge. And you know very well, matter. Can I continue, children? I'll just keep changing the screens. You may please keep writing, and later you may even watch the video, which I'm putting it right now on YouTube for public. For some time, I'll do that. But I would expect you to read instead of anyway, you won't be reading good textbook nowadays. We'll go for material all the time directly. So whenever you feel you are some point is not clear to you, I would expect you to play the video and see. And so that later you can really, sir, here you told something, I did not catch it that way. You can keep communicating to me through WhatsApp later. All right. So here, charge on any body is going to be the integral multiples of electron charge. Why? I'll tell you now. For that, we need to go a little more details. Let me say a copper's crystal, let me say, take a lump of copper. If you take, it's got many atoms in it. And inside the copper's nucleus, there'll be protons and neutrons, as we know. And in the orbits, electrons are going to be circulating. Z equals 29 for copper, 2 electrons here, 8 electrons here, 18 electrons here, 1 electron here. And exactly same number of protons. And of course, neutrons may slightly change in number. I don't remember how many neutrons are there for copper. Is it 29 or 30? Whatever it is, that's not important for us because neutron finally has no charge. So 29 protons, even these protons charge is plus E. So each proton has got plus 1.6 into 10 to the power minus 19 coulombs. So atom is basically now neutral because the net charge is 0. Do you follow my point here? So like that, there are many copper atoms here. So this is electrically neutral, we say. This whole copper lump is neutral, electrically neutral. Right. Now, I did something and I removed few electrons from the outermost orbit of it. If I remove from here n electrons, say n electrons are removed. What will happen? The protons inside cannot be taken out, believe me. Now there will be, the whole copper crystal will be getting plus Ne charge. Because if I had, for example, some 100 electrons and 100 protons in a group, okay. If I remove 10 electrons from here, there will be 90 electrons here, 100 protons here. So 10 will be in excess. So here, n protons will be in excess in that whole material. That is plus in each charge it gets. But somehow you added n electrons to it. Say n electrons were added. It will get minus Ne charge. This is what you mean by quantization. Look, quantization is what? Anything which changes as integral multiples of a fixed number is what you mean by quantization. What did I say? Anything which changes according to some rule. For example, the auto fare. Say it starts with some whatever 4 rupees or 10 rupees, 20 rupees probably, and for every kilometer you add say 50 paise. So the auto fare will be showing 1 rupee, let me say, for example. So 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, like that. It cannot show 21 and a half. So some quantity which exists in multiples of integral multiples of a fixed number, then you call it quantization. Just a minute. All right. So that's what you mean by charge quantization. And there are many things which are quantized in the world. It's a quantum world, finally, if you go to the microscopic level. For example, I'll give you one case which keeps coming to us in waves. If I have a string here, if I pluck it, or if I, whatever means, vibrate this string, the string can vibrate either in one loop, or in two loops, or in three loops, or in four loops. It cannot vibrate in 4.5 loops. Here, remember, they are rigidly tied here. So this will be not moving here, this will be not moving here, right? And people say later, of course, the total length of the string is n times the lambda by 2, people say, because this distance people call as lambda by 2 for whatever reason. We'll come back later. So this is also a good example of quantization. All right. So charge is quantized. The basic unit of charge is charge an electron, and charge in any body will be the integral multiples of this charge, plus any or minus any. All right, children, as far as the world outside the nucleus is considered. But when you go inside the nucleus, neutron and proton are made up of quarks, I told you, even more elementary particles. Huh? Look, just now in the previous figure you have seen somewhere, I'll go back and show you. Look, the proton was made up of UUD. Huh? Proton is made up of up quark, down quark. The proton charge is +1, you remember, +1e. Quarks have got fractional charges, I told you. The up quark has, for example, +2/3e, and down quark has got -1/3e. Add up now. +2/3 plus 4/3e -1/3e, which will be +e. This is charge conservation, actually speaking. I'll come back to that later. This is charge conservation, right? Individual charges, you add up, you'll get the total charge. This is for what? Proton. Actually, I should not put one more extra circle like that. That will be misleading. I'll just rub it off. There's nothing like a wall there. The quarks, they give the shape of the proton. Look, up quark, down quark, U, D. This is proton. So though I told electron charge is the fundamental charge, and anything is integral multiples of electron charge, inside the nucleus, this is slightly different like this. And a neutron will be D, D, U. Down quark, up quark. So the charge will be minus 1 by 3, minus 1 by 3 plus 2 by 3, which is 0. Okay. So charge is quantized, all right. It is the integral multiples of electrons is all right. But now once you go inside, you can think of fractional charges also. And these things are what, children? Quarks. Yes, Guru Charan, tell me.
Sir, means due to this opposite charge of down and up quark, the proton and neutron are attracted.
Not really, child. That's one more extra thing actually. I don't mind, because even that is important for us in the nuclear physics.
Okay.
Neutron and neutron attract, proton and proton attract, proton and neutron attract. This attraction is not the repulsion between protons. What is your name? Guru Charan. Huh?
Yes, sir.
Like what
Okay.
happens, the standard model says this. Now the model which explains the electromagnetic forces says that for a force to be developed between two particles, they should exchange particles, exchange photons, exchange some other particles. But the idea is so simple, children. When two persons play, say, some volleyball in between them, one person pushes the ball like this. The momentum of the person has changed. One simple test for saying whether the force is developed or not is momentum should change. So if I hold this phone is my part of the body, you think, but I threw it, so I'll move a little back. Similarly, that fellow throws it back to you, he will move it little back. So when that's called repulsion. But you come and politely give this phone to you, somebody bends and takes that phone, even then you are exchanging a particle but developing an attractive force. So if electron repel, they are playing a ball called photon ball between them. If proton and proton are attracting because of a force called nuclear force, they exchange particles called mesons. What did I say? Mesons. So all this I'll talk once again in nuclear physics in details. Don't ever think that because of these charges inside they are doing. There's proton, neutron are once again exchanging particles called mesons. Okay, right. But to the extent that quarks are there, I want you to understand. Rebecca, anything you want to say? All right. So anywhere, if you feel I'm going a little more than what you can digest, please tell me. But remember, this is very, very interesting. All right. So charge quantization is there, but with a condition. Inside, when you go, you got even fractional charges. Quantization, I told you, integral multiples of electron charge. Plus Ne or minus Ne is the charges you get on our bodies, big bodies. And in all our daily life, you will never go on to nuclear level, right? Only in the labs and only when you want to bomb some country, then the nuclear picture comes into picture. All right? All right, children. Now I want to make one thing very clear, because this keeps coming again and again and again. If I have a metal sphere, for example, copper sphere or any metal sphere, if I have, it is electrically neutral, no net charge. But if I do something and remove electrons, it gets positive charge. And for a metal, of course, they all the time go to the surface. That will be discussed in the later stage. So this kind of fields we are going to discuss in electrostatics, where charges have come to equilibrium on bodies and they cause fields and they apply forces. So this whole discussion of electromagnetism is this: fields and forces and nothing else. All right, but let me keep adding few things. Yes, charge of electron is how much we told? I'll write E minus like this to tell the charge. Mass M I'll use for mass. 1.6 into 10 to the power minus 19 coulombs. And you know who determined this experimentally? Millikan, in his famous oil drop experiment. Even this also is there for our syllabus in a slightly different way. Millikan oil drop experiment. Even this I would be discussing depending on your response. This was found by Millikan, actually speaking. He was a great experimental physicist. Okay, that is one point to remember. And discussion of that also is very important, but probably right now you may not be ready to understand it because you've not defined few things. But definitely somewhere in the middle, I'll bring this experiment also because it involves viscosity, Stokes' law, and it involves electric field strength, it involves Newton's laws, all that to discuss the principal of it. But remember, we owe all this to the famous fellow called Millikan, who said electron charge is this. You can put a minus sign if you want. Right? Now, look. If 1.6 into 10 to the power minus 19 coulombs make one electron, how many electrons you require for 1 coulomb? That is 1 by 1.6 into 10 to the power minus 19, which converted will become 6.25 into 10 to the power 18 electrons, children. That's a big number, isn't it? 1 followed by 18 zeros. I should gather so many electrons, 10 to the power 18 electrons, then I can call that charge as 1 coulomb charge. That's why it's a big charge, remember. Children, I've only been speaking, so I would like your feedback for a while. Ramya, Manasa?
Yes, sir.
Is it all right until now? Lots of information you see. This is very, very important. Every statement, every number I mentioned is important.
Yes,
over a period of time, your chemistry will improve and your chemistry quality of learning will improve. Believe me.
yes, sir.
Chemistry anyway, but definitely you'll be getting some explanation for things in chemistry which you may not have thought previously. But every point, every word I mention, that should stick in your mind. Huh? Ramya and then Rishita, are you there?
Yes, sir.
Srihit?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Any question, children, here? Until here?
No, sir.
I want you to remember these numbers, children. Huh? I'll be using all these things later. So sometimes what happens, these children from Narayana Chaitanya, they are completely used to different kind of a teaching. So they listen while I'm teaching. They say it is looking good, but finally these things will go out of their minds. I always feel surprised why it goes like that. Because I'm telling you in a very story-like structure and giving lots of scientific information, that should settle in the mind. Your job will be over 50% in the class, believe me. I'll do that. But as I told you, I want every time feedback. Like if I pinch you hard, somewhere you should say, no, sir, it is hurting. Then we can see how to reduce that pain. We can go further down and we can make it interesting. We can bring analogies. We can do many things. Or I can ask you to come prepared with a particular book. So, right. Then, yeah. Yes, 1 coulomb is a big charge. Why it's a big charge, I'll tell you. Yeah, practically we talk of microcoulombs. 1 microcoulomb is. I'll tell you why 1 coulomb practically is a big charge to achieve. Big charge to achieve, let me say. What do you mean by this? I'll tell you. I talked of a copper sphere, right? This copper sphere, let me place it in air and keep charging it. There are many ways of charging, but whatever way you keep charging it. That means probably you'll be removing electrons or adding electrons, that's left to you. There is a thing called dielectric breakdown. For every medium. Air is basically non-conducting. But if you apply electric field through air, very high electric field through air, its non-conducting property goes off. Electrons will be removed from the inner shells to make it conducting. That is from the inner shells of nitrogen, oxygen, hydrogen, whatever. So for air, this strength of the electric field is 3 into 10 to the power 6 volts per meter. What it means is this. If I take a glass tube of 1 meter length and put an anode and cathode and apply a potential difference of how much? Lesser than this, no conduction here between anode and cathode. But if I apply 3 into 10 to the power 6 volts of potential difference, this air inside becomes conducting. This is what you mean by dielectric breakdown. That value will be given by the E to be applied, electric field to be applied. So why am I talking about this? Look, if I keep charging, the electric field outside keeps increasing, children. So I can give formulas, but right now, no problem. We don't worry about it. If I go on giving electrons or removing electrons, electric field forms outside. And somewhere the surrounding air's insulating property breaks down. So the charges, even if you place, they start leaking to the air. Before you reach 1 coulomb only, the insulating property of the air breaks down. Even if you try to place charges, they will just simply leak out into the air. That's why this 1 coulomb is actually a big charge to achieve. And the moral of the story is this. In all our problems, we'll be dealing with microcoulombs only. Rebecca, can you just tell me back this again? Whatever I told about copper charging it, charge leaking to the air, all that. Rebecca, tell me, please.
Sir, I have network problem. Your voice is breaking.
My voice is breaking.
Yes, sir.
Others, children?
Oh, sir.
Yeah, maybe your net problem.
Yes, sir.
What I was trying to tell you was 1 coulomb charge is actually a very big charge to practically achieve on a metal body like this. I told you already. When do you say bodies are charged? Either you remove electrons from them or add electrons to them, right? Protons cannot be removed, protons cannot be added. They are inside the nucleus, tightly bound. So all electrostatics we deal with is that only. See, this is very, very important for the industrial application, right? So what I was trying to tell you was, if you try to place 1 coulomb charge, you cannot look children, charge is quantized. It is achievable in lumps only. You cannot take 1 coulomb lump charge and place on a sphere. You have to place them bit by bit. As you keep placing charges bit by bit, the quantized charge, the electric field around the copper sphere keeps increasing, and that will become so high somewhere that it knocks out the electrons from the air and provides a path for these electrons to pass. So you try to keep placing charge keeps leaking. So that's what I mean by saying that to achieve 1 coulomb charge on a sphere like that is not possible. So we'll be dealing many a time with this kind of a thing. Microcoulombs of charges. Do you follow? Tell me, Rebecca.
Yes, sir.
Ramya, boys,
Yes, sir.
Srihit, Praharsha,
Yes, sir.
and who is that fellow? Other fellow? Ramya, Rishika, Srihit, Gurucharan, Anshuman. Yes. Anshuman, are you there? Hello, Anshuman. Sai Bharat, Kartikeya, Sushma.
Yes, sir.
Sushma.
Yes, sir.
I told you children in the very beginning, you feel free to talk. Because this is a voluminous, big lesson, syllabus dear. Electricity is very big. That should actually motivate you, not trouble you, because I'll be doing so much of it. It looks a little daunting task and a little challenging task to begin with. But soon you get into the mood for it, you'll really enjoy it. So some ideas are being discussed, numbers are being given. So if something is troubling you people, you need to tell me. All right. I was trying to tell you that 1 coulomb charge is not a small charge. It is a big charge. We deal with microcoulombs. All right. I'll continue then. Okay. We're talking about charge only now. Yes. So all this I put under a heading, charge quantization. Now, charge conservation. Most
Hello, sir.
important. Yes, tell me, Saibara.
Sir, please can you repeat dielectric breakdown, so I didn't understood that properly.
Can you tell me anything which is actually troubling you there? Do you believe that air is non-conducting?
Air is conducting, sir.
Conducting. Really? That means if I place one plus electrode here and minus electrode there, if you go in the middle, you will be affected.
No, sir, no.
Air is non-conducting, Sai Bharat.
Okay, sir.
Sir, if air is not conducting, can you explain the phenomenon of thunder, sir? The thunder which we see.
That's good. When thunder happens, the potential difference developed electric is very high, Rebecca. So it becomes now conducting. How many volts? I don't remember actually. I can Google and find out. But big voltage develops. Big electric field develops. That's why it makes it conducting.
Okay, sir.
Right?
Yes.
You and me cannot produce thunders, isn't it so?
Yes, sir.
So what happens there? Yeah, that's once again electrostatics thing only. We'll discuss the thunder thing also slightly later. But that's a good question. So that's the best example for you to feel that it is definitely non-conducting, but it can be made conducting with thunder. So that's what we call dielectric breakdown, Sai Bharat.
Okay, sir.
Thunder is an example of dielectric breakdown. All right. Okay. The next thing is principle of conservation of charge. Principle of conservation of charge. I thought I would finish this, but even this is not done. No problem. Let us see. Charge is conserved. One statement I can say. Charge is conserved. I just made this statement because this can be converted to many longer statements depending on the situation. A more broader statement will be the charge in the whole universe is conserved. Charge is conserved in a nuclear reaction. Charge is conserved when an electron and positron combine. The total charge may be transferred from one body to another body, but the total amount of charge remains constant. Do you remember some basic principles of conservation in the first year? Can you name them? Sai Bharat, one conservation law, you tell me. Principle of conservation of linear momentum, right?
Conservation of mechanical energy.
Conservation of mechanical energy is okay, but more general form is conservation of energy. Huh? Don't say just conservation of mechanical energy. That is okay. That will happen in the conservative field. That's what you mean by saying U plus K is constant. But the more general statement is what? Delta U plus delta K is equal to work done by other forces than conservative. Is the actual statement of conservation law, children. The first one. Second one is what? When f external equals 0, dp bar by dt is 0 and p bar is a constant vector. This is principle of conservation of linear momentum. Third one is what? Conservation of angular momentum. That is, when tau external is 0, L bar is constant. Angular momentum of a system is constant. In chemical reactions, you will say mass is conserved also. And in a streamline flow, you'll say AV rho equals constant. This is mass conservation. Conservation principles are there, many. Not many, of course, but good number for our use. We added now one extra thing called charge conservation today. Remember, these are beautiful mathematical statements which exemplify certain things in the nature and which can be applied in almost in every possible situation. We can apply these laws of conservation. We'll be using all this. One way of solving a problem is applying conservation laws, because something is made equal to something. You get an equation. Like that, you get 2 or 3 equations and solve them. That's what you mean by problem solving in physics. All right. So I'll give you examples where we actually use this charge conservation. All right. Now, one is this. The first example is, say, I've got 2 metal spheres which are charged with Q1 here. Q1 means it will be some n times some number of electrons, children. Okay. Radius of this is some r, let me say. There's another sphere of the same radius, not necessarily same, but for simplicity's sake, I'm giving that. This is holding some Q2 charge, for example. They were initially separated like that, but I bring them close like this and keep them in contact for some time. Keep them in contact for some time and then separate them. Now, in this particular case of R being same, you'll find the charge on this to be
Charge is distributed.
yes. It will be distributed equally here if the radius are same, but if the radius are different, they'll divide in the ratio of their radii, children. This is Q1 dash, I'll say. This is Q2 dash, I'll say. So Q1 dash in general will be total charge Q1 plus Q2 into R1 by R1 plus R2 for the first sphere, Q2 dash equals total charge Q1 plus Q2 into R2 by R1 plus R2, where R1, R2 are the radii of the spheres. The total charge initially is Q1 plus Q2, final charge is also Q1 plus Q2. That's what you mean by charges concept. I expect you to ask me 1 or 2 questions regarding this. What may be happening, children? Look. When I have, of course, I have to mention here, to use a new word here, charge flows from one to the other, from one sphere to the other, until their potentials become same. I have to mention it here because I don't want to get a wrong idea. Anyway, we're going to discuss potential later. We should never think that the charges will be equally divided, or you should never think that charge flows from a higher charge to lower charge. Charge flows from a higher potential to lower potential. But just to the extent of charge conservation, I want you to understand, because we'll be applying Coulomb's law for this kind of problems later. So charge flows from one to the other. What it means, I'll tell you. Look, I've got some plus 100 electrons positive charge here, and let me put the sphere equal size. Plus 200 electrons positive charge here. What do you mean by that, children? 200 electrons were removed from here. And here 100 electrons are removed. Okay, so that's why this has more positive, this is a less positive charge. Of course, the radius are same here. If the radius is same, potential will be divided only by the amount of charge. I'll tell you, Q by R will be the potential formula, children. If R's are same, whichever is having more potential, more charge will have more potential also. So when I join them together like this, what we're trying to tell is that this will have plus 150 electrons charge. This will have plus 150 electrons charge. What is going to happen, children? 50 electrons will go from here to here. Once 50 electrons are going from this sphere to this sphere, here we'll get 150 electron volts plus charge, minus 50 electrons are added here to 200. This also becomes plus 150 electrons charge. So electrons will flow from here to here, 50 electrons. So ultimately, it's a motion of electrons as far as the outside thing is considered. Have you all followed this statement, children? Yes or no? Srihit.
Yes, sir. Sir, material of both the spheres are same, sir.
That need not be. Huh? That need not be. They should be
Okay,
metals.
sir.
They should be metals. That's all. Okay.
Okay, sir.
Actually, we'll develop beautiful physical models to tell how the electrons move. Believe me. But remember this statement. We have to define. We have to define so many things before we really talk in the modeling way. All right. This is the first example of charge conservation. So as I keep speaking only, you should keep making a note in your mind along with making notes in the book. Every word spoken, every idea spoken, every formula given is meant for solving problems. Do you follow? Have you understood that, or you think why sir is talking so much? Srihit,
Sir,
is this all required or not required?
required, sir.
Right. Okay. Then I'll continue. The second example. Second example of what? Tell me. Charge conservation. Look, in 10th class also you learned sum of the currents entering a junction is equal to sum of the currents leaving a junction. Kirchhoff's first law. Say if this is 5 amperes, if this is 3 amperes, if this is 1 ampere, this may be some 6 amperes and this may be some 3 amperes. 5 plus 3 plus 1 should be equal to 6 plus 3. Why is it called charge conservation? Do you know? 5 amperes current means 5 coulombs per second. 3 amperes means 3 coulombs per second. 1 ampere means 1 coulomb per second. So in 1 second, as a whole, 9 coulombs is entering. 9 coulombs should come in 1 second. Otherwise, it's not going to be currently. Charges are not going to be disappearing in the middle. No extra charge is going to be added in the middle. So Kirchhoff's current law, KCL we call it, is an example of charge conservation. So second example I provided here.
I don't understand. How did we get 9 coulomb?
Because in 1 second 9 coulombs is coming out. In 1 second same 9 coulombs should come out. 6 plus 3 9 kadama.
Okay.
You could have written 5 or 5 and 4, doesn't matter. You could have written 7 and 2. That's not the point. Huh? And I'll give third example. Can I continue, children? Third example. A beautiful example I'll give you here. Or I'll give a known example first. In a nuclear reaction, along with other conservation laws, charge conservation also will be followed. Like what is this? A nucleus XZA becomes another nucleus Y by emitting an alpha particle, for example. This is a nuclear reaction. This is not chemical reaction. This is not the reaction between the molecules or atoms. It is a reaction between the nuclei. So some element called X with proton number Z and atomic mass number A, which is nothing but Z plus N, protons plus neutrons number, that is. Becoming one Y, a new nucleus happens when one alpha particle comes. Alpha particle is simply what? A helium nucleus only, no electrons here. That's called alpha particle. So here, the initial charge is how much, children? Tell me, plus Ze. Charge of the protons here. All right. Now final charge will be, look, 2e for the helium nucleus plus Z minus 2 into E for the new nucleus Y. So 2e plus Ze minus 2e. So final charge is also Ze again. This is what you mean by charge conservation in a nuclear reaction. All right. Srihit,
Sir,
tell me. Sai Bharat, Anshuman. Are you listening, Anshuman? Gurucharan.
Sir, listening, sir.
Gurucharan is different from Parashara, sorry. Devachit Parashara is different from Gurucharan. Okay. Kartikeya. I'm seeing a new name today, I think. Are you the old fellow or a new one entered today, Kartikeya? Why don't you speak?
Yes, sir.
You're new today?
No, sir. Yesterday I came.
Yesterday. All right. Then Sushma. Are you following what all I speak here?
Yes, sir.
All right. So have you understood? This is not no electrons business here. We're talking of only the nuclei. Is that clear to you? That's the reason I told you the structure of matter already. Nucleus, electrons around. So this is the reaction between reaction consisting of involving nucleus X and nucleus Y. Okay, a nucleus X is becoming a nucleus Y because one alpha particle is going out. Alpha particle is once again what? It is just 2 protons and 2 neutrons inside the nucleus and no electrons outside. This is called alpha particle. Okay. Tell me, children, just one more example if I give, the lesson will be complete today. Pair annihilation or annihilation. And pair production. Are also examples of charge conservation. What is it? Annihilation means what? When making it disappear is annihilation. You annihilate somebody means you'll remove him from the world, kill somebody. Now, whatever way it happens, when one electron and a positron combine, you know what is a positron? It's not proton, children. It is the antiparticle of electron. It has got the same mass, same charge as the electron, but plus charge. Whereas proton has got 1837 times the mass of the electron. So proton is not same as positron. This is electron. This is positron. When they combine, they produce 2 gamma particles. Charge is 0 initially. And finally also charge is 0. So this is also charge conservation. This also is a beautiful example of conversion of mass into energy. This gamma, this is photons. Here, the electrons have got mass that got converted completely into energy. Delta mc square example also this one. This is also conservation of momentum principle, like electron and positron will be coming like this in opposite direction. Their initial momentum is 0. For the final momentum to become 0, gamma will go like that. 2 gammas will go like that. But anyway, that's a side of the thing. Here, our example is to tell you that when electron positron combine, they both disappear and they produce two gamma rays. You know, I don't know whether you read a novel by Don Brown or somebody, yes. Angels and Demons, something like that, where he talks about the antimatter. The world we have is like this. Like I told you, I've got molecules making up the whole bulk matter. You've got protons inside, neutrons inside, and then electrons outside. In the antimatter, negative protons and positrons will be there outside, along with, say, neutrons, like that. Proton will have a negative charge, electron will have a positive charge. And when these two things combine, they disappear and produce radiation energy. Like, say, I'm made with what we call as a positive matter now. Somebody from somewhere, some alien spaces, comes here. He is made up of, that world is made up of antimatter in our language. We come and shake hands, combine like this, we both disappear. Antimatter is dangerous, try to understand. To produce that in the lab is very, very small amounts we can produce. So when positive matter and negative matter combine, you can produce radiation energy or gamma rays. But here, for the present, our discussion is centered around the charge conservation. Charge initially is 0, charge finally is 0. For those who are interested, this is good physics to get excited, but these are also examples of examples for exams. So that today we finished charge quantization, charge conservation. Of course, charge conservation is there in more areas, but right now I cannot discuss because certain other things have to be talked. Some minimum examples for charge conservation I provided here. Tell me, children. If you ask me something, after that I'll close the session. Tomorrow being Independence Day, and children and everybody feels having classes on the Independence Day is losing your independence. So tomorrow will be a holiday, but we will come back on Sunday evening. Okay? Will you remember this?
Okay, sir.
Tomorrow,
Sunday
same time once again. So Sunday, anyway, you're not going out anywhere, no? You cannot. Are you going for a picnic or anything nowadays? No. So it's dangerous. The whole August will be dangerous. Young people, even if you catch it, you may not have a trouble, but if you contract it to old people, you'll be putting them in danger. So maintain the social distance, cleanliness, everything. People may be having grandparents at home, right? So you will be putting them into risk if you keep moving here and there and don't maintain the neatness, children. All right. So is it all right for Sunday, people?
Okay, sir.
Okay. Or good?
Good, sir. Good, sir.
All right.
Good, sir.
Right. So I expect you to watch the videos again. Are you doing?
Sir, in which
Yes,
channel
sir.
you are posting videos, sir?
I'm posting on the YouTube for a while now. Delta Junior
So
College.
what's your channel, sir?
Delta Junior College YouTube channel. Straight away you put type. Actually, you are getting a link, no? No, actually, we are people are sending you the links. Just see your mails.
Okay, sir.
No, I want, because I want you to get used to this kind of serious discussion and teaching. And things won't stick it at one time. You can just, while eating also, you can just put it there and use your earphones so that you don't disturb others, and keep listening to this instead of looking into some social media and some cinemas and whatever. Just keep listening to it, keep watching it. Within 15 days, you'll see a big change in yourself. I think links, the link is coming to you in your mails. Just look at that. Okay, children. Good night. I'll be closing the session right now, and come prepared to ask more doubts.